Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Data Dialogues. I'm Julien Redmond, General Manager of Certus Insight and your host. Today's episode is the second of three using content recorded at the 2021 Worldwide Data Vault Conference. It's really great that we have this opportunity to share this content with you. It's usually only available to those who attend the conference or subscribe to the playback on the DVA site. So I really appreciate DVA giving us permission to use this content. This episode is all about working smarter, which seems highly relevant in today's world. In this presentation, Working Smarter, the Disciplined Agile Enterprise, Scott Ambler, who's the Vice President and Chief Scientist of Disciplined Agile at the Project Management Institute, discusses how organizations can be resilient and flexible in the face of change. Scott explores how to work smarter at the individual, team, and organizational level. So if you want to work smarter and not harder, then stay tuned for Scott's presentation.
Okay. Hi, my name is Scott Ambler. I'm the Vice President and Chief Scientist of Disciplined Agile at the Project Management Institute. And what I would like to do is share with you some ideas today about how you can work smarter and what does it mean to have a Disciplined Agile enterprise and what might your future look like. And that's my little dog. So anyways, I'm one of the co-creators along with Mark Lyons of the Disciplined Agile Toolkit. I recently earned my Certified Disciplined Agile Practitioner designation. I can be easily reached online. So if it ends up, do you have some questions later on, then feel free to reach out to me. I'll also be in the lounge later on today as well. Well, actually immediately after this talk. So what would I like to talk about today? Well, first I'm going to get into a brief overview of what this is all about. Then we'll explore the Disciplined Agile Toolkit, and I'll work through how you can apply it in practice to improve your approach to data warehousing projects and to data management in general, and as well at the organizational level. So the one of the value props of the Project Management Institute is to help people and organizations to work smarter and to help individuals become change makers and help them to enable change within their organization, within themselves, and of course, within their teams. So we like to talk about this in terms of a three-step process. So how do you learn? How do you pick up the skills and the knowledge and the mindset to improve and to get better? How do you supercharge your skills from a marketing terminology point of view, I guess? And then how do you optimize? And one of the things I'm gonna try to convince you of is you need to go beyond the frameworks. The agile frameworks like Scrum and Safe and Less, and they're all good. They're great starts, but they won't get the job done for you. And but they are good starts. So don't get me wrong on that one. So what you really want to do is become a learning organization. How do you design your own way of working? How do you and how do you do this at the team level? Because your teams are all unique. They're all made up of unique people in unique situations, and they learn, they evolve. Their situation changes over time. So how do we react to that? And then how do we improve value streams, and how do we improve our organizations, and how do we really accelerate this across our organization, and how do we become one of those agile, scary organizations, like the Amazons and the eBays of the world, the Googles, where I would argue we're probably, if you don't work for one of those organizations, or Apple or Tesla or one of the other ones, you'd probably be pretty scared if they ever entered your marketplace. So, how do you compete against them? So that's a valid question. How do you compete against them, and how do you put yourself in a position where your organization will thrive and survive in the future? So one of the challenges in the Agile community right now is this question, are we there yet? It's been 20 years. February was the 20th anniversary of the signing of the Agile Manifesto. And it was actually originally written in February, but it really wasn't finalized for another couple of months after that. But anyways, the mythology is that it was written in February of 2001. So anyways, so are we there yet? And is your organization there yet? Might be a better way of looking at it. And the reality is probably not. So a lot of organizations are getting benefit from going agile, but it's nowhere near what they've been promised. And some of it is they didn't know how to do these transformations. They struggled. They didn't really become, they say they're agile, but they're really not. So there's a lot of issues for why we're seeing numbers like this. But in the same vein, we are seeing benefit, right? So 7 to 12% productivity improvement is nothing to sneeze at. It's not bad, but it's certainly not the 10 times productivity improvement we've been promised. So what happened? And a lot of it is you hit a barrier with these frameworks. Every framework like Scrum and SAFe and LESS and others, they solve a certain problem. And if you adopt that framework successfully, well, then you address whatever problem that framework solves, which is great. But then once that problem's solved, well, there you go, right? It's solved. You're done, right? They don't really have any much more to add, because they don't tell you how to move away, how to improve upon the framework. That wouldn't make any sense. So, and there's all this good rhetoric, how these frameworks are the art of the possible. When you're smart, you can figure it out, and all that sort of stuff. But it's not happening, as we're seeing from the actual industry stats. So, can we do better? And that's what DA is all about. And I think one of the challenges with these frameworks are that they do solve a certain problem, and if you've got the problem, maybe you'll benefit from it. But if you didn't have that problem, or if you had a different problem that was sort of similar, but then it's not really going to do much for you. So, and I think a lot of these frameworks are overly simplistic. So, for example, the Scrum Guide, which is great. It's a fantastic thing. Wonderful ideas in it. It's 13 pages. So I don't care how well written that 13 pages is, it's not going to solve all of the issues in your organization. Our organizations are complex adaptive systems. We suffer from challenges that are far greater than the 13 the best advice on the planet captured in 13 pages is not going to solve our issues, right? We need to do a little bit more. So anyways, we need to do better. So the organizations that are doing well are the ones that actually take control and take responsibility for their own learning, for their own for their own success. So they're not agile organizations; they're really learning organizations. They've chosen how to get better at getting better, and this is what we can help you get to get beyond these frameworks, which may or may not be a good start for you, but certainly they're only a start at best. So what's Disciplined Agile all about? Well, first, it's not a framework. It's similar to DV2. DV2, I'd argue, is not a framework either, and I believe Dan will argue that as well. DA is a toolkit. We help you to improve. We show you how to improve. So instead of telling you what to do and giving you a magic recipe book of here's the 15 magic steps, and you'll suddenly become hyper competitive. Instead, what we do is we say, here's the issues you need to think about. Here are some options to address those issues, because you face a unique problem. You have different preferences. You have different you have different people on your team, and you have different learnings coming from different backgrounds. So we can't tell you exactly what the best practice is, because we don't understand your context, nor do the Scrum or SAFe guys, right? So, or LESS or whoever else. So instead, in DA, we say, here are the issues you need to address. Here are some options that you could choose from to address those issues. And here are the trade-offs. Here's the advantages and disadvantages of these options. So you make the decisions that are best for you in the situation that you face. So you choose your own way of working. And that is fundamentally agile. For those of you who are around 20 years ago, one of the fundamental concepts in Agile was that teams should own their own process. Teams should choose their own way of working. Unfortunately, we didn't teach you how to do that, and then the frameworks, the Agile gold rush started, and the frameworks took over. So now we're getting back to true agility again, I hope. So in the DA mindset, this is the DA mindset. This is mostly lean concepts. And I should have also said these slides are available to you right now, so you don't have to madly write down all this stuff if you're madly taking notes. But anyway, so originally in DA, we had based the the mindset on the original Agile Manifesto for software development. And this was written 20 years ago, and it was wonderful at the time. And it focused on many of the issues faced by the software development community at the time, 20 years ago. But since then, we've moved on. We've actually addressed most of those problems, and we've learned a few things along the way. And we realized that it's about more than just software development. So a couple of years ago, so for many years, we based the Disciplined Agile Manifesto on the original Agile Manifesto. And the reason why we had to extend it was because the Agile Manifesto writers didn't want to update the manifesto. So for a group of people that preach change, that was great as long as they didn't change. So anyways, it was what it was. So we extended the manifesto, but we found it clunky. The formatting was clunky, and then we get into arguments over, my update to the manifesto can beat up your update to the manifesto and all that nonsense. So we stepped back about 2 years ago and we said, you know what, if we were to write it from scratch today, knowing what we know, how would we write it? And this is what we came up with. And so the manifesto, so the DA mindset is captured as a collection of principles. We believe in these principles. And in order to fulfill these principles, we make promises, both to ourselves, the people on our team, as well as to the people we work with, to collaborate with, and our customers who we serve. And in order to fulfill the promises, we follow a collection of guidelines. So things like, taking a validated learning approach, and we change our culture by improving the system, and we measure, and we measure to improve outcomes, and many good some agile ideas, but a lot of great lean ideas. And this is what enables you to scale. So this is a mindset that enables enterprise agility, that enables you to become effective, and to focus on value streams, and to focus on the overall flow across the organization, not just locally optimize and all that good sort of stuff. And many of this is applicable to the data world. So for example, for years, we've been promoting this idea of being enterprise aware, how the teams that are developing applications or doing marketing or doing procurement need to be aware of the overall enterprise needs and the overall direction, and make decisions that are good for the enterprise, not just what's convenient for them. So for example, wouldn't it have been nice if development teams had made decisions along the lines of, hey, here's a legacy data source, we should use that, as opposed to creating a new one. And then, having all the data quality problems that, come up from there. So it's like this sort of thinking that we've embedded in the DA toolkit. So a lot of wonderful ideas there, as you can see. So the scope of the toolkit is enterprise agility. And we actually talk about ecosystem agility as well. How do you partner with other organizations, and how do you work in an ethical and socially responsible manner? But for the most part, the focus is on the enterprise. And the issue here becomes one of, how do we get these disparate groups of people working together effectively? So because the marketing people have a different mindset than the finance people, than the product management people, than the data people, than the IT operations people, and the R&D people, and so on. So how do we get everybody working together effectively and going in the same relative direction? So our focus today, I'm going to do a deep dive into a couple of these, into 4 of these process blades, some of the DevOps stuff, but as well as enterprise architecture, because clearly that's an important issue for the data community.
Thanks for watching today's episode of Data Dialogues. I hope you found that as interesting as I did. Dealing with change in the enterprise is really hard, and Scott's got some great insights. The next episode, we'll hear from Knowles talking about the laws of nature, a Data Vault perspective. So keep an eye out for that link.